Hey, hey, hey. It is kaylandlamar, and welcome back to the Pursue You podcast, where we are actively in pursuit of everything that God has in store for us. We are in pursuit because we know that we are just barely scraping the surface. We are getting by, we are going through the motions, but we know that there's so much more in store for us. We are committed to growing and learning together in community, and the ultimate goal is to pursue a life that's full of growth, full of progress, full of authenticity by showing up in a way that is empowering, encouraging, and most importantly, Christ centered. We must keep Him at the center of it all. And the scripture that really kind of catapulted this podcast that I always reference is Proverbs 21:21. Whoever pursues righteousness and unfailing love will find life, righteousness, and honor. And so as we kick off the third episode of the Pursue You podcast, I am here to say that I'm excited. I'm excited to continue this journey with you. I'm excited to see what happens as we continue to strive towards being better people, as we move towards being a group of people, a collective that is really doing what we're put on this earth to do. We're tired. We're tired of showing up with masks, tired of pretending, tired of not living an authentic life. And it's time. It is time to truly be about it. It's truly time to show up in a way that is real, in a way that is genuine, in a way that is Christ-like. And so I cannot wait to talk about our topic for today. And to be honest, I am doing something I haven't done in a while. I am going unscripted. And this is, again, the third episode of the podcast. I do go live in my private Facebook group. It's called Pursue You also. And again, if you are someone that is open and willing and wants to be in community over there, you'll find all kinds of things, journal prompts. We have live sessions every week. We talk about different topics of the month, and there's so much richness and just transformation happening over there. And I talk to them all the time. A lot of times I have notes and I don't go by my notes, but today I'm being really bold, and I have not a single note in front of me. And so when I think about the act of doing what I'm doing right now, I think about a word that has really been in my spirit since probably about September. And actually, in the private Facebook group, we just came out of what we called surrender season. And surrender is truly something that we as people have such a hard time doing. We are so focused on, scheduling things out, having a plan, doing things exactly like we plan them to do, going through this checklist and being perfect and all of those things. But the truth is that when we surrender, on the other side of that is so much growth. And what I have seen since I've been focusing on surrender, since I've really been trying to show up in a different light, being someone that is used to planning things out, used to having a set schedule, or being someone that is all about planning, I do believe that life is about ebbs and flows. It's about really choosing ease when possible, but also recognizing that there's going to be times that are difficult. There's going to be times where you have to kind of push past the discomfort, push through different situations, be resilient, and show up even when you don't feel like it. But when at all possible, I do think that it is important for us to recognize that we don't always have to show up and be on. We don't always have to show up and be operating at 100%. I tell you, like, when I experienced my bout with burnout, it was really rooted in me wanting to show up at 100% all the time. Well, not even your phone battery does that, right? Like your phone battery, if it's not plugged up to some type of power source, then guess what? It's not going to last all day or all night. You have to charge it. You have to recharge. You have to be intentional about how you do that. And sometimes you have to go into power saving mode, right? So I think about power saving mode as being a time where you are being mindful of how you're spending your energy, what you're using your time to do, how you are showing up, and maybe sometimes you need to back off and focus on you and go steal away and be to yourself, right? Sometimes you have to take inventory of how much you're doing and what you are using your energy towards, because it's not always something that is feeding you. It's not always something that you're even supposed to be doing. And as I think about that, I think about how important it is for us to surrender, to surrender our lives, our hearts, our minds to Christ. And when we surrender, it's so powerful because we recognize that none of the things that are on my to do list can be done without Him. None of the things that I have planned for myself with my business or with my family or the trip that I have planned. Like nothing is possible without Him. And so, in moments of surrender, the most difficult things, all the way down to the most minute things, when we choose to actively surrender and give our lives to Christ, that is the only way to truly always stay aligned, right? Because we make so many decisions on a daily basis, but we do not always pray about those things prior to making the decision. We don't always show up for real, because we know that maybe fear is connected to it, right? Like if I surrender this, what does that mean? And we start to overthink it and we start to second guess ourselves or start to doubt and fear certain outcomes. But ultimately, when we let go and we let Him take control, what better way is there to live on this earth than to live in divine alignment and divine place and space with Christ? And so I encourage you, if you have a hard time letting go and taking your hands off of things, and maybe you are like me, you're a planner, you're someone that is actively doing things all the time to um, stay up to date or to be current with certain things. Like I invite you to reflect, why is it that you're like that? Why is it, like, at the core, do you think that you're the one in control? Do you think that you are the one that is actually doing all these things and making sure that it's happening? Or are you truly reverencing God in your life? Are you truly allowing Him to move at all? Or are you so busy making all the decisions and so busy checking off your boxes that you are not recognizing who God is in your life? And so I invite you to surrender. I invite you to really think about how you show up time and time again for others, how you show up time and time again for your job, how you show up time and time again for all of these roles and responsibilities that you might have. But when you do that, and when you operate at 100% all the time, and when you focus so much on all the things you have to do and how you want to feel accomplished, when you do that all the time, your battery is getting low. Your battery is getting low. You are using and expending an excessive amount of energy. And sometimes you're spending that energy doing all that when if you just surrendered and you go into power saving mode, when you surrender and go into power saving mode and really let God have it, it'll turn out so much better. Let me tell you, I know I'm not just talking to talk, I'm telling you the truth. You will show up in a way that it'll blow your mind because when God is really with you, walking through the different circumstances that you might face, when you decide to partner with Him, when you decide to truly show up in a way that He is the center, like we've been talking about, making Him the center of your life, then you're able to release some of those things that have been heavy, casting your burdens on Him, right? Releasing those different difficult situations and those decisions that you're making, giving them to Him and letting Him work them out for you. You know, we say that we want to let Him fight our battles, but then we pick up the sword and go fighting for ourselves. But when you truly surrender, you're able to lay down that sword and walk away and trust and know that He is going to do His part, that He is going to show up because He always does. He never lets you down. And that's the thing that we have to keep in our minds when we start to second guess things or we want to pick that sword back up and get back in the fight. When you let Him fight your battles, you're always going to win. You're always going to come out victorious. You're always going to be in a constant state of victory. And that is a beautiful thing. And even when it doesn't look like, maybe it looks like you're not winning, maybe it looks like you're about to lose, right? If you know who He is and you know how He shows up in your life and you know that He is on your side, you can't lose. You can't lose. And so I hope that going into whatever is next for you, I hope that as you transition from like the season of maybe I've been wanting more for a long time, maybe I've been really striving and trying to do my best, maybe I've been focusing on really improving how I show up. As you start to do that, I encourage you to take some time and remember whose you are. Remember that this battle is not yours, it's the Lord's. Let Him fight your battles. Invite Him in to fight your battles. As you let go, as you surrender, you have to be really intentional about your prayer life. You have to be intentional about who you surround yourself with. You have to be really intentional about how you navigate certain situations. Because if you are surrendering, you got to act like you're surrendering. You can't just say it, right? We're so used to doing that, just saying one thing and doing another, asking for help and then doing it ourselves. But we can't do that when you're on this journey. You have to decide, what am I going to spend my time doing? Am I going to spend my time focused on what I don't have? Am I going to spend my time focusing on what I wish was? Or am I going to let God handle it? Am I going to let Him fight my battles? Am I going to let Him show up for me? Because He's waiting. He's waiting for you to do that. He's waiting for you to decide today, this is the day that I'm going to surrender to Him. This is the day that I'm going to focus solely on showing up already victorious, expecting what he has in store for me, expecting the things that he's already told me in his word that are for me. My arms are open and I'm ready to receive it. Now, what I will tell you is that it's not going to be easy. Surrender is not an easy feat. It's not something that it's just like, oh, I want to do this. The enemy's going to tell you that you can't do it. You're going to have so many things that come up that make you want to grab the wheel and just do it yourself. But if you are someone that's really trying to focus on letting go, you're tired, you want to shift, I encourage you to take these journal prompts that I'm about to share with you and take some time to reflect. In what ways am I truly in control? Is control an illusion? Am I showing up and running myself ragged and doing all of these things just because society has told me that that's what I'm supposed to be doing? Are you tired? Are you growing weary? Is it too much for you? Well, guess what? If you feel like it's too much for you, then I suggest that you turn it over to him, because that is what we're supposed to do. That's what we're charged to do. And so I'm going to share, as always, the journal prompts to close out our conversation on surrender. I do hope that you will get your journals out. Get your journals out. Don't just think about this. Come back to this. Get your journal out and write this down. Writing it out is so helpful. It helps you to process things. It deepens the connection that you have with yourself. It opens you up to receiving what you are looking for. And it is a catalyst for change, for growth. And so the first thing I want to ask you is, as it relates to surrender, what are you ready to surrender? What are you ready to let go of? What are you ready to really turn over to God? So that could be a list of things, that could be one specific thing, right? But once you answer that question, the second part to that question is, how will you do this? What's your plan? How will you surrender? What are you going to stop doing? What actions are you going to let go of? What actions are you going to start doing in order to let go? Are you going to start backing yourself out of certain situations because you know that it's not good for you? Are you ready to start making different decisions because you're tired of the path that you're going down? Whatever it is, what are your actions going to be? And make sure that those actions are aligned with a surrendered life. And lastly, I want to ask you, what has been stopping you from surrendering? What has been stopping you from surrendering? Did you not realize that it was something you think you needed to do? Or did you realize you needed to do, but you're fearful? It's scary. It's not easy. It's something that seems like it's too big, right? Whatever it is, I want this to serve as yet another reminder that you can do all things through Christ, and that as you surrender and as you give this thing over to God, as you give your life over to God, as you cast your cares on Him, He's going to do His part. One thing that we know for sure about Him is that He does not fail. He can't fail. He won't fail. And so when we give it to Him, when we surrender, we're winning already because we've given it to Him. We're winning already because He's going to do it every time. It might not be the way we think it should be or look the way we think it should look, but in the end, all is well. All is well. This has been an incredible conversation, y'all. I told y'all I was going unscripted. I had no idea what I was going to talk about, but surrender. Surrender came to mind, and it is something that we all need to make sure that we check ourselves. When are we swerving in other people's lanes? When are we swerving into God's lane? When are we doing things that we know we shouldn't do? And as we close out this conversation, I do want to encourage you to share this podcast with someone. If it is helping you in any way, if it is something that you're like, wow, this really resonated with me, be sure to like, share, subscribe, comment, all of it, all of it. Your engagement is really important and it's necessary for growth. And I appreciate it in advance because we want change. We want growth. We want to share and be in community with like-minded individuals as we do that. Another thing I want to ask you to do is to make sure that you join the private Facebook group. If you haven't already, there's a link in the description. I encourage you to join. It's so much richness over there. We have so much fun going live every week and really diving into our topics of the month. We have books of the month. It's just an incredible space to be. So I do encourage you to do that as well. So as we end, y'all, I'm going to say what I always say. Take care of yourself, because if you don't, no one else will. Bye.